Hello, everybody. Welcome all to the 11th edition of the Bengal Chamber's signature annual Business IT Conclave. So, here we have with us the President of the Chamber, Mr. Devi Mukherjee, Chairperson of the IT Committee of the Chamber, who is leading this program, Mr. Arnab Basu, Founder and CEO of MB Software Private Limited, Mr. Sudhir Kothari, President and CEO, Indian American International Chamber of Commerce, Mr. KV Kumar, Group Chairman, Infinity Infotech Parks Limited, Mr. Raj Maria. With this, I request Mr. Arnab Basu, the Chairperson of the IT Committee of the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to take the session forward.
Thank you, Angana, and a very warm welcome to all of you on the web. As Angana mentioned, this is our signature event from the Bengal Chamber IT Committee, and this is the 12th edition. We are really happy that we have been able to organize, I would think, a great congregation of speakers over the next 2 days, which we have done. So one is today. Today evening we are having quite an august gathering of speakers, and then again we have this on next Friday, when we would have another set of extremely distinguished speakers for you. So before we move into the topic, I would request Mr. Devi Mukherjee, who is the president of the Bengal Chamber, to give his welcome address.
Thank you very much, Arnold. Thank you very much. Just a small clarification. Is it the 11th or the 12th edition? Angana says 11th, Arnold says 12th. Correct me.
I think it is the 11th.
11th.
I stand corrected.
No problem at all. No problem at all. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it's indeed my pleasure to welcome all of you to the Bengal Chamber's 11th edition of the Business IT Conclave. The theme this year is Technology for Humans. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we all know that the role of technology in whether it's research, innovation, application, especially in the realm of digital technology, is now intrinsic to our lives and also our livelihoods. But the critical question, however, for all of us in business and in the industry, that we need to ask ourselves is to what purpose technology is being used. In other words, the adoption and application of technology, to my mind, needs to be purpose-driven. Purpose-driven in a responsible manner that is both inclusive and equitable, resilient and sustainable, and most importantly, good for all. And interestingly, this also happens to be the vision statement of the Chamber for the current year. A purpose-driven and responsible adoption of technology indeed will go a long way to address and resolve challenges that we as human species face, whether it's in the realm of climate change, whether it's resource security, especially in food, energy and water, health, education, and of course, most importantly, our livelihoods. But an important aspect we need to consider in all this, while we embrace new frontier technologies, is to have a right understanding of the benefits and the threats that new technology brings with it. Whilst we do appreciate huge strides that we see in innovation in areas like artificial intelligence, robotics, other forms of automation, and the experience, we all talk about experience these days, the experience we all have in their application, we also need to be mindful that in these applications, these applications actually reach out and the benefits are shared by all. And what is said, no one is left behind. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome all of you. I welcome the distinguished speakers. I welcome our friends from the media. I welcome our speakers from across the world. I'm told there are speakers from Bahrain, France, Israel, Switzerland, United Kingdom, United States, and a particular welcome to Mr. K.V. Kumar, my old friend. We have met a couple of times from the Indian American International Chamber of Commerce in Washington, D.C. Thank you, Mr. Kumar, for being with us. And I'm told you are also our outreach partners for this program. We are keenly looking forward to 2 days of deliberations today and the 4th of December, the second day of the conclave. And before I hand over to Arnob, allow me to take a pledge with all of you that we, as responsible citizens, we never lose the focus on the human face and the human element, along with the environment and the larger ecosystem within which we all survive and function while adopting and using new technology. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and enjoy the evening. Over to you, Arnold.
Thank you, Mr. Mukherjee. And, that was really setting the context for, our conclave this year. And as I deliberate a bit more before I would, pass on to the distinguished speakers that we have for the evening, I think there are a few thoughts which, obviously come to my mind. Over the years, this has been, as I said, a key event for us, and mostly we have tried to bring uh, thoughts and deliberations around new technology into this conclave. And most of the, emerging technologies that we have today, we have had discussions and debates and discourse on those in the preceding years. Now, when I look at that, and when we were trying to think of what could be a topic for this year, I think the primary thought process which was there in our mind, and we did this discussion actually in December, January timeframe, right? It was in the pre-COVID era that we were discussing this. But I think most of the committee members felt that, while we have been debating a lot on new technologies and emerging technology areas, we have had sessions on blockchain, we have had sessions on AI, we have had sessions on Industry 4.0, IoT, uh, we have had sessions on cybersecurity. But what people felt was that at some point we probably need to have a thought process around how technology is helping humans. And when we say technology helping humans, again, you can debate that, almost every technology that we create today has, in some way or the other, has some use, right? And if it has some use, then it's used for us, and hence it is for us. But I think the focus, what we wanted to do was that, we have this entire thriving, economy of startups on one end. We have the really large, tech behemoths, as I call them, on the other end. And we have the entire other non-technology players, part of the industry, different sectors, who are all thinking of only one central thought in their mind, which is how do I transform myself using technology, right? And if we look at the different CEO surveys, if we look at different pulse surveys, I think that becomes a central response which comes back to us. That how do we look at transforming our business using technology? And if we look at technology which are built to empower us, and if you go sector by sector, you would have different technologies which are coming to help you, right? Which are trying to make our lives easier, which are trying to sort of bring us closer to, uh, I would say closer to leading a far more simpler life by taking some of the complexity out of our life into the technology platforms, and then freeing up our time, freeing up our mind for other avenues. So I think that's something which we felt that we should talk about it, and most of the speakers would touch upon that. Now, obviously, this can be handled in different ways, right? You can look at this and say that, okay, how do I look at it in the realm of healthcare, which is obviously topmost in our mind? How do we look at it in the realm of education? How do we look at it in other sectors like agriculture? How do we look at it in the case of financial technologies? In every sector, there is some technology which is coming out now, which is there to help us lead a better life. And if I go sector by sector, we can always discuss, but I think there are some technologies like, artificial intelligence. How artificial intelligence is really changing our life is sometimes even, we don't even realize how it is, sort of helping us and taking control, how it is looking at, personalization to a completely different level. When we look at our virtual assistants, what we are doing with them, when we look at biometrics and the technology behind biometrics, when we look at biometrics and then we also look at, technologies around blockchain, cryptocurrencies, which are removing central authority, which are allowing us to avoid regulations, making it much more autonomous for the user. How are these changing us, right? When we look at the entire concept of how do we look at access to capital, if you're looking at industry, how are we looking at access to capital, and are there technology platforms which are giving us easier access, making the access far more easier? When we look at health, of course, there is the entire thought around COVID, and I'll not get into it. But if you look at wearables and what that is doing to our life, if you look at how geolocation is, creating a completely different use cases possible now in our life. Uh, when we look at the drone technology, how that's improving over the years and how that's being now put to so much of commercial use, right? When we look at the entire peer-to-peer social media connect and what we're doing around that, all of these technologies are making it very, very interesting for us. And I think if we look at with the central lens of, okay, you have a technology, it is there to help an organization for sure. What's the impact on everyday life? Some of the things which we were coming up with answers were really interesting, and that's what we thought that would be good to hear. With that, I would probably invite Mr. Kothari. Mr. Kothari is the president and founder of MB Software. And Mr. Kothari, I would like to, hand it over to you for your initial thoughts on this. Mr. Kothari?
Yeah. Unfortunately, the video is giving me trouble a little bit.
No, we can see you fine, Mr. Kothari.
Yeah,
we can see you fine. We can hear you fine.
I've got my iPhone on, and I've got my laptop on.
I realize that.
I've got my keyboard on my laptop. So thank you so much, Arnab. Thank you so much, Bengal Chambers. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all. And again, I want to thank Bengal Chambers for inviting me for this talk on an issue I personally value: taking technology beyond business to address a human challenge. So I'm an entrepreneur, moved out of traditional family business way back in 1986. Since my teenagers days, I was highly inspired by the great Tatas. I had a dream to build an organization where people come and work, make their career, and fulfill their dreams. So I set up MB Software, reselling licensed software of global organizations like Lotus and Microsoft and other software in 1986, and then quickly moved to SI Solution. Our biggest turning point came in 2010 when our partnership with Microsoft turned strategic. We were inducted in the prestigious Global Partner Framework to sign long-term agreements with clients, the LSPs. This partnership helped us further when cloud came in 2014. MB took a big leap into our complete portfolio of cloud consulting solution services. Our business model completely shifted from selling to problem solving and business outcomes. Tech's been good for me, and tech's been very good for business. We have been clocking an above industry growth average of more than 30% CAGR for last 4 years. Currently, we are a $100 million US company operating out of 10 cities in India, with 500 people on board. Running a company successfully is what an entrepreneur is expected to do, and it's what I believe I've done. But as an entrepreneur, could I make a difference to humanity as well? What could I help overcome to be meaningful? As part of a CSR program, we could have taken easy way to meet statutory obligation by funding charities and donating to government funds. But we want to do something different that could make a fundamental human change. So most companies use CSR fund to take programs that benefit areas around the factory or office to buy goodwill. But we wanted to go wherever it was needed to. So we wanted to put technology to good use, to make it inclusive, to make it empowering. So let me take you to Kalchini, a block in Alipurduar district in North Bengal. Like everywhere in the rural government school of Bengal, 60% of the children drop out from school by class 8. The rest who scrape through barely learn the bare minimum. The textbooks are largely urban-centric, visually dull. It's a really helpless and hopeless journey that passes off as an education. The attendance is very thin among students because they won't find it engaging, engrossing, or even fun. So we found an NGO experimenting with technology to train teachers in these schools to learn the use of computers. They said if teachers could learn to develop visually rich, contextually relevant lesson plan for classes, the student would learn better and be more attracted to come to school. What's more, they would get to know more about their own history, surroundings, and culture. They would discover their own identity. They could take pride in being who they were. So donating hardware and software would have been the easiest thing, but that wouldn't help. How would teachers, many of whom have never used a computer or even a smartphone, use them? So crucially, we funded and got involved in intensive workshop throughout the year to train the teachers on how to shoot stills and videos, insert them in. We donated smartphones and used the camera to shoot films and photos locally, and also donated portable projectors, laptops, and speakers, which they could use to hold classes. At the end of the year, the teacher competed for the best lesson plan. The teacher who won the last year, I'm happy to say, never used a computer before. A unique and brave step we took was in partnering with local Kalchini Panchayat. It was a rare collaboration between corporate and Panchayat to make this effort sustainable and effective, because we needed a local administration to own it as schools were administered by them. After a successful experiment in Kalchini, we rolled out this initiative in another very backward area, Rulia, and now plan to take them to other areas as well. Kalchini is in year 2, still happening with advanced training on lesson plan development. Then in March 2020, the pandemic put a stop to the world. They were helpless all around. Offices shut, work from home happened, with most coping with their laptops and smartphones. School and colleges shut, but most had no recourse, no way to continue education. It was distressing, to say the least. So in mid-April, we saw an opportunity as a Microsoft fast-track partner to deploy Microsoft Teams in education institutions. I felt challenged and inspired. It was a noble move by Microsoft to help overcome the crisis, and we didn't want to miss a chance to play a meaningful role. So they offered free licenses to Education Institute for 6 months till the institutes got their act together. and our job was to roll out. We just had 75 days to enroll the institutes, deploy the products, and ensure they adopt in their classes. Majority of the institutes we didn't even know also. So we quickly formed teams across the country, created an SOP for them, clearly defining roles and responsibility for each members. We fixed at what point the baton had to pass to the next team so that it worked seamlessly like a production process. The first team contacted the head of this institution to explain the benefits of the program. The second team was responsible for onboarding the institutes, take the details for team deployment across institute and ensure seamless collaboration. And the third team was involved in adoption and training, which was the most important and the difficult phase. Once the licenses were activated, this team quickly engaged with the concerned IT leadership team at the school or university to ensure the adoption of the solution. They held faculty and students orientation sessions on various capabilities of Teams so that users maximize the usage of Teams effectively. They also shadowed the faculty during the initial classes. These orientations were repeated for faculty and students a few times. I'm glad to say that in 75 days, we set up 400 virtual classrooms in 344 institutions, impacting over 300,000 students across 5 states. MB maxed the highest adoption rate across Asia. Being a business, we had an opportunity to convert them into licensed user after the 6 months free period. And this, we also ensure the continuity of education in this institute. The future of tech looks good too. We are seeing progress in technologies across every spectrum of human experience every day. One specific area of progress in technology which I would like to highlight is in virtual experience, since this has become pervasive across most of the people in the world. With pandemic not going away so easily from our life, I would like to highlight especially the future of technology and virtual experience, since I see a pivot moment in it. So virtual reality, augmented reality, and AI-powered tools, which Arnab was talking about, will get more elevated and will become part of daily life in near future. We may see in near future such tools that can improve the cohesiveness, harmony, engagement, response of a team in virtual meeting classrooms through video conferencing calls while working from home or anywhere. Tech will remain good for our civilization, but we will increasingly move from using technology to living technology. Innovation and growth will need to be far more integrated, as what impacts business will directly impact lifestyle and leisure, in turn visibly impact health and so on. This will be the new normal. We are in the cusp of major transition driven by technology. The crisis we are facing is a portal for all of us to consciously and compassionately make changes. Some destruction will precede creation, as we all know from our ancient Vedic philosophy. How we manage it is crucial. Ultimately, the effect of technology is driven by human choices and actions. A knife can be used for life-saving surgery or life-taking murder. As a famous author and philosopher said, we cannot live for ourselves alone. Our lives are connected by 1,000 invisible threads. And alone these sympathetic fibers, our action runs as causes and return to us as results. Going forward, this will drive the choice and action I make as an entrepreneur. Thank you so much for hearing me, and stay safe.
Thank you, Mr. Kothari, and quite profound. And it is lovely to hear you as an entrepreneur, your perspectives around some of the changes which we are going through. And life's changing, and technology is changing. There's no denying of that. And I think some of the points which you made are very, very, I would say, deeply philosophical yet very, relevant for today's world. Thank you. Let me now take the honor of inviting Mr. KV Kumar, President and CEO of the Indian American International Chamber of Commerce, and he's also the chairman of KMF Investment Group LLC, for his address. Mr. Kumar, you're on mute.
Good evening to all of you. Thank you, Mr. Arnab Basu, and my good friend, Mr. Deb Mukherjee. Thank you, sir, for having me in Bengal and treating me like a king. I appreciate that. We have a lot to do together, and I also thank Subodhip Ghosh and also the incoming President Abraham Stefanos, correct? Yes. Technology has facilitated learning works in socializing, IT, digital technology transforming tool in medical, healthcare, education, energy, agriculture, and artificial intelligence. The Conclave has rightfully recognized the potential transformation of gap, high unemployment due to this digital technology, AI, and other, COVID, etc., etc. Moving forward, investors have to keep in mind that this is not the marginal. This is not marginalized. Let's not marginalize and create another strata in society that can be forgotten. Investor focus in AI, artificial intelligence, digital technology should be more towards aerospace, defense, biotech, green technology, human resource, agriculture, etc. The Indian American International Chamber of Commerce has done a lot of work. I'm talking specifically about the United States. First, on the immigration issue, which is a important factor for India. In fact, I was in India when I was in India earlier this year, and late last year and early this year. I was interviewed by Hindu newspaper. They asked me about the immigration. I told them that, look, if people are going to bring more technical people into the country and reduce the bringing families and other things, I'm all for that, because that will benefit. I mean family meaning if I want to bring my grandmother, uncle, and things like that, that can wait. We need to have more technical people coming to India so that the balancing would help India and the United States. We have at the chamber, we have worked on it's a very big event, and we have worked very hard on the immigration issue, and we turned the president's orders on immigration, which helped us to postpone the sanctions till the end of this year. And we have also worked very hard on the sanctions against India in the past under several presidents, from Bush to Clinton and Obama and Trump, etc. And we are going to work with Biden and Harris team. And one of the things that we worked very hard, and we have worked with Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and Prime Minister Modi, both of them in the past and present, and the strategic trade authorization, which was approved by the US government in 2018, I believe. And we did that one, that's called STA1, Strategic Trade Authorization 1, which brought India to the level of NATO countries rather, to do business without involving the middleman and going through a lot of hazardous red tapes. That's very helpful, and that helps in artificial intelligence. And there is a lot of opportunities door open in defense, aerospace, agriculture, healthcare, In fact, I was interviewed by the pharma industry, and my suggestion to pharmaceutical companies in India is to really associate with smaller companies in the United States as well, not only the big companies, and work with them so that we can give technology and exchange technology and work to get together. And we can really make it big. We don't have to work with all big firms alone. We can work with smaller firms and make them big. And in terms of our collaboration with the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we look forward to working with Mr. Mukherjee and his, and also Mr. Ghosh and all of you at the BCCI, and to improve. We would have had a trade mission earlier this year in April or May. I was going to bring few business people and the lawmakers together. Lindsey Graham, senator from South Carolina, had agreed, and two governors were interested in coming. One from Mississippi, another from Georgia, and the South Carolina governor. Few governors were very much interested in coming to India, and I will make sure that Bengal is one of the places we will definitely go and stop and make use of your courtesies as well as bring some business. And these trade missions, I have little, I went to Secretary Ross. I traveled with him, to Delhi when he was there, last year, trade mission. Trade missions need to be organized better. I was a kind of an unofficial advisor when, in 2007, US went to India with the largest trade mission ever to India. But we came out without much success. What we really need to do, that's why when the State Department asked me to spearhead the mission to Sri Lanka, we were only 6 people, but we came out with 2 projects. The idea is really to not to have too much of social events and things like that, and to have more B2B missions and meetings and other things, and so where we can meet and exchange views and sign MOUs and pursue the future. And the future is in several areas. Don't ignore the small businesses. And the opportunity zone, which was created by a senator from South Carolina, which was welcomed by President Trump, they are going to invest $5 trillion over the next 20 years. It has a lot of advantages. What we need to do is to find the right small to SMEs in the United States and associate with them and get the benefit of these, facilities. And India has a lot of resources. We need to make use of that one. And bringing business from US to India, and this is the best opportunity because we the Americans are realizing India has a lot more to offer than other countries. In the long run, we benefit by associating with India, not only in terms of doing business with India, but India is, of course, for India, US is a very large partner. But for US, India is the 9th largest partner. We have a long way to go. We need to catch up with China and other countries. And whatever we can do from the Indian American International Chamber of Commerce, we are willing to do it, Mr. Mukherjee, and we are looking forward to working with you. And I don't want to get into our Chamber of Commerce things that we are doing. We are doing number of online webinars and things like that. And we would like to do one in collaboration with you, because we are going to do one in collaboration with FICCI and other chambers, and we would like to do it with you too, and thereby bringing 2 organizations closer. And we are at your service. Please let us know in what way we can help. On a personal note, I am also associated with a company called KMF Investment Group. We were, without COVID, we would have done a lot of good work by now. We are planning to raise about $5 billion, and we want to invest in innovative projects and small businesses, both in India and in the United States to begin with. And we are also opening offices in Africa, Middle East, as well as Asian countries. And we are going to open next one in Singapore. And we really want to go aggressively to work and bring a lot of good things with and doing business with India. It's both ways. We don't want to lie to you. We want business from India to United States as well. But we want to bring business from the United States to India as well. Thank you very much. Appreciate your having me. I really enjoyed being with you.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. And it was really nice to, hear an investor's perspective. I think you obviously touched on some very pertinent points, which are deeply, social in nature in terms of, the asymmetry that we are currently living with, and whether this kind of an asymmetry is even sustainable in the long run. Not to talk about the kind of technology disruptions which are coming in, which in some ways, while it's supposed to reduce the asymmetry, but in many cases, what we are finding is that the big firms are becoming bigger. Even this, in the COVID crisis, if you look at the digital dragons, as they call, the Alibabas and the Amazons have become, much bigger, right? So the asymmetry is growing. Of course, we have seen a very, deeply populism is becoming very, very, the entire geopolitics is becoming very, very difficult to predict. Not to mention that, some of it is quite interesting as well, as many of us, probably, saw over the last few weeks. And then your points around how we should be looking at trade, bilateral trade between, countries. And I think US is very, very important from India's perspective, because when we talk of technology, it's still, we are quite a distance from having our own Silicon Valley. And we are still looking at a lot of technology innovation coming in from the States into India, even as we have our homegrown startups. And that, I think, takes me to the next speaker in our conference, probably to look at how we are helping the entire startup ecosystem in India, and especially, how we are looking at, sort of supporting them.
Can I mention one more thing, please?
Yes, of course, of course.
We, the chamber, helped in 2007. Before that, for 3 years, Indian government and the US Small Business Administration were trying to collaborate together and come out with an MOU, and they didn't succeed. And then one of the, I don't want to throw names, important people in India asked me, KV, can you help? And in less than 2 months, we arranged for, I brought the SBA administrator. I was going to bring the SBA administrator to New Delhi, and I found out that, AmCham was holding their annual conference. So I talked to Ramesh Bajpai, and we collaborated. We had the MOU signing at that event in New Delhi. And I was going to bring the SBA administrator, but President Bush appointed him as a housing secretary at that time. So I brought the associate administrator for international trade from SBA, and we signed the MOU with US Small Business Administration. And I want to tell you that this is a huge market in America. More than 68% of all employment is grown through small businesses. So please don't ignore the small businesses, and I want you to go after big businesses, but don't forget the small businesses, which are the root cause of our development. Thank you.
No, absolutely. Absolutely, Mr. Kumar. And exactly what I was highlighting, that, one of the ways of, sort of getting past this asymmetry and reducing the asymmetry in the society is if we can encourage and grow our MSMEs. And, otherwise it is just that the rich will get richer and the poor poorer. So I think, let us change tracks a bit.
Not even rich getting richer and poor getting poorer. We want to make poorer getting richer. That's all. I don't want to downgrade the rich one to become poor. But that's not the issue. Well, I know what you mean by that too. What you're meaning is the small businesses, if they grow, they spread the wealth everywhere. That's
Of
what.
course, of
Thank
course.
you.
So let me invite Mr. Ravindra Chamaria, who is the group chairman of Infinity Group and Infinity Infotech Parks Limited. Uh, they have been very supportive of supporting the startup ecosystem and the accelerators in Kolkata. Over to you, Mr. Chamaria. Mr. Chamaria, you're on mute.
Hello, Mr. Chamaria, your audio and video are off. Mr. Chamaria, we would request you to please switch on your audio and video.
Yes, Mr. Chamaria, we can see you and hear
sorry.
you.
I'm sorry,
Don't worry.
there was some. Thank you, Mr. Basu. Good evening to all. First of all, let me congratulate Bengal Chambers for doing this conclave, which is the 11th edition. Infinity is also a proud partner of this conclave. We have been associated every year since it has been started. And as you know, as far as the Infinity portfolio is concerned, we have played a kind of a catalyst role in development of IT in West Bengal. We were the first to start an fully rewired, building, which is called Infinity, the first intelligent building of this Eastern India. We run around 6 million square feet of IT infrastructure, and we provide all kind of IT infrastructure, whether it is bare sale, whether it is plug and play, whether it is incubation, whether it is furnished space or whatever. Now, we have talked about the technology, and we understand that now the time has come that the startup is the name of the game. And here also we would like to play a role where we can handle the West Bengal's IT startups and give them whatever support we can do from our side. As we have been discussing, and President also mentioned, and our speakers also mentioned, that technology has played a big role, and it has a lot of role to play in future as far as the human is concerned. Yes, the technology for human is very important, and that's now the way of life. But technology should also come with compassion. It should not be just pure technology, as long as it is mixed with compassion. And technology can bring lot of good value to the society. And the most important thing is that the entrepreneurs, the new breed of these entrepreneurs who are technology savvy, should look at doing things, development the business which has impact, which has social impact also. If we concentrate on the impact businesses, it has also a lot of profit directly as a revenue, as well as the impact on the society. And as Mr. Kumar will agree with me, there are huge funds waiting all over the world to invest into impact, businesses. So we have partnered with BCCI to start an accelerator program where we will help and support whatever the startups are needing. And BCCI is a big platform, and we can bring a lot of things together: mentoring, handholding, infrastructure, financing, and some business connections. So we are very excited to partner with BCCI to do this accelerator program, and we look forward for various startups to really grow and become unicorn in West Bengal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jamaria. And I think the support which you have been giving and your group has been giving to the startup ecosystem has been very helpful. And I think on behalf of the tech community in West Bengal and in Kolkata, we are always, very thankful for that. And I think it's important that we continue to invest in the startup ecosystem in different ways. Of course, the government is doing its bit, and we from the Bengal Chamber have been also quite proud of being associated with the mentoring program for several startups. And we have been working very closely with Webel as well on this. And during some of the discourses, we would try and bring a bit more of what we are doing with them as well. Many of them are working on very human-centered technology projects, and some of them are quite advanced, getting close to funding as well. So I think any help that we can give to this community as they grow, and we have quite a few of our members giving them mentoring. One is, of course, the infrastructure that we can provide to them, the technology support we can give to them. Government is, of course, helping with the second one as well. But I think the overall mentoring that we can give to some of them as they get ready to, scale up and bigger, I am sure that we will do much better in the days to come. With that, Angana, can I hand it over to you?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Basu. Thank you, Mr. Mukherjee, Mr. Kumar, and Mr. Chamaria for joining us in the opening session of the 11th edition of the Bengal Chambers Business IT Conclave. We would also like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors, without whose support we couldn't have mounted this program. Our diamond sponsor, MB Software, our gold sponsor, PwC, our silver sponsors, Infinity, NextGen, and JIS, our bronze sponsors, CESC, Dr. Reddy's Lab, EasyRex, and Mazars. And we'd also like to specially thank the IT&E department of the government of West Bengal and Webel for supporting this endeavor of ours. And we would like to proudly announce that Infinity and the Bengal Chamber has signed an MOU to launch Infinity Bengal Chamber acceleration program. As Mr. Basu mentioned, we have Tech Incubation Center with Webel at Webel Bhavan, supported by Bandhan and other corporates, where we incubate and mentor startups. And with this Infinity Acceleration Program, we would like to take a step forward for acceleration. Incubates who are after their incubation stage, they can join the acceleration program. And we also welcome the other startups who are in our acceleration stage to join this program. So with this, we would like to make a presentation of an audio visual of Infinity offering. Thank you.
Salt Lake Sector 5, or the nerve center of Eastern India's human capital, is home to more than 900 companies with more than 100,000 professionals employed directly. This is where Infinity Group has acted as the harbinger of IT revolution over the past decades.
We started our journey as Infinity in the year 1996. As a group, we always felt that we should do business which has impact, and can we do something for state of West Bengal and create some IT infrastructure which is the state of art, ahead of its time, and looking at the customer's future requirement.
With numerous green buildings that total over 5 million square feet of green infrastructure scattered within an area of 3 kilometers.
And today, if I see the journey of Infinity from 96 to 2018, I feel very happy that Infinity has played a catalyst role, of course with the support of the government of West Bengal. And today, if I go out of the building and see the vibrant young crowd, and around 200,000 people are working now in Sector 5.
A home of smart thinkers is a marvel called the Infinity Think Tank, which was one of the very first intelligent IT-empowered workspace in Sector 5 that revolutionized the landscape of the area and ushered in an era that raised the benchmark of infrastructure and brought in smart integrated business parks all around.
You know, we are very conscious about the environment. All our buildings are green. Our first green platinum building came 10 years back, which was second in India, seventh in the world. Infinity has taken a vow that all their buildings, whether residential, whether commercial, whether shopping mall, whatever we do, has to be green.
A slew of cutting-edge smart green buildings with a futuristic design and robust engineering followed, such as Infinity Benchmark, Godrej Waterside, Infinity IT Lagoon, Martin Byrne Business Park, Merlin Infinite, and Advents Infinity.
So looking at the requirement of today's youth, entrepreneurs, startups, SMEs, we felt that if we give them a tension-free environment, we give them a space which is plug and play, they can come anytime, they can go anytime. For the lady worker, there is a security, and provide all the support which they need.
Infinity Business Center is housed in the award-winning Benchmark and Godrej Waterside building, having state-of-the-art co-working spaces at the heart of Sector 5. Some of the most valued customers of Infinity Business Center being Nissan Motors, Mars Chocolate, Avaya, Kimberly-Clark, Pearson Education and Renault. Fully furnished plug-and-play model, which is scalable at any point of time. Infinity Business Center will offer every single modern amenity and convenience needed by you to crack that $1 million deal.
Today, we have around 400-500 seats. We are expanding it. We will be happy to help these entrepreneurs in whatever manner, including investing with them, mentoring them, and whatever is required to be done. I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Technology innovations out of Bengal or out of country to engage with them and to connect them with Bengal, maybe with the resources which are available in Bengal with potential startups and very quality education ecosystem, or maybe the market which may be explored by these organizations. So this partnership of ours would also help us in this endeavor to bring new age companies outside the state to connect with Bengal. Thank you. So